house. We went to the creek, and we drank the water out of it. My wife drank the water out of it. It was fantastic. The solar hydro water pack, I could not believe how much water was flowing through this thing. I mean, it was like a little spring coming out of this backpack. And if you know anything about the other filters or emergency, or if you need water quickly, or if there's a lot of people, you can't wait on these gravity-fed filters sometimes. You need water now, a lot. You need 50 gallons, 30 gallons an hour this thing can put out. And so we're very happy to bring Alan on the show. And he's also going to tell us about an unprecedented special with all these disasters that are happening, and that people are so concerned and really want to get available these products. We really want to make this as available, accessible as possible to you, the listening audience. So, Alan Gossett, welcome to the Power Hour.
Hey, thanks, Danny. Good to talk to you again.
Oh, always great to talk to you. When you were here, we had a pretty good time. We put our hats on and we went on the UTV and drove around and found the muddiest creek we could find. And there was Alan in the middle of it getting this solar hydro pack going. It was pretty cool.
You know, one thing that you cannot convey over video is how bad that creek smelled.
No.
That doesn't come over video. It smelled terrible. Because, I mean, your wife, everyone mentioned it. I was like, yeah, it stinks pretty bad down here up against, because I was on that bank right there pulling that water out. So, yeah, it was pretty bad.
Yeah, there's no way I would have drunk that water. Just, unless I was absolutely destitute and, starving or whatever. There's no way I would have drunk that water in any circumstance. Why don't you tell us a little bit about what's been going on with these disasters, some places the solar hydro pack has been used, how it's been used, and then why don't you introduce John to kind of tell us his story?
Yeah, sure. So and I've said this on air, and I've received a ton of calls through these disasters. It's unfortunate that we get busier during these types of emergencies, but it just seems to be the way it is. And fielding calls from Barbados, Canada, and all over the United States inquiring about the system. And so I think you hit the nail on the head earlier. There's a lot of different cool little things out there that'll filter water, but remember, this is not just a filter. This is actually a purifier, because this will eradicate viruses. And what most people that are with Water Quality Association, EPA, and others will tell you can't filter out a virus. You can't. They're just way too small. So that's kind of the difference here. But you hit the nail on the head is when you're in an emergency, if you have 2, 3, 4 people in your family, or you're trying to get water to a group of people, you can't wait. You need it now. What had happened down there down in Houston.
Hey, hold that thought. Hold that thought, Alan. We're going to go to break, and then we'll be right back on the other side. Let's continue with this, because this is helping lives. This is really helping people. We'll be right back. Stay tuned. After the hour, here at the Power Hour, we're talking to Alan Gossett, and we're going to be joined by John Ishii shortly. But Alan is talking about how the response all over the world, really this part of the world with the disasters, has been responding and inquiring about the solar hydro water pack. So go ahead and pick up right where you left off there, Alan.
Yeah, no problem. What I was saying was during Hurricane Harvey, people, and there was news stories about this, people were lined up for city blocks just to be handed 2 bottles of water. I mean, what if you have a family or other folks that you're trying to care for? That's all you got. And so what was really interesting about this whole situation was an actual Power Hour listener, Marcia, I know you're listening. Good to see you again. She actually donated her pack to a fire and rescue station down in Beaumont, Station 8. And John's here with us, so I want to introduce him. But his son-in-law is a fire and rescue officer down there at Station 8. And they actually took this pack and used it with the officers there in the station. So, world, this is John. John, welcome to the Power Hour. Go ahead.
Hey, thanks, Alan.
Why don't you go ahead and tell us a little? Would you go ahead and tell us a little bit about is it your son-in-law? Tell him about what happened and his experience and how he used a solar water pack, and just tell us the whole deal.
Okay, it was my son-in-law, and our water was shut off down here in Beaumont, and we had no city water coming to us. So we were like everyone else. We were waiting for water to be delivered. Well, that lasted for about, I think, 5 to 7 days. I'm not exactly sure how long. But my son-in-law is a fireman, so he has to be on duty the entire time. There is no get to go home, get a break off, or anything like that. They're stuck at the station. So you have to wear the same clothes you've been wearing. Well, this water filter, this system not only allows you to have water to drink, but they were able to wash their clothes as well, which was a huge morale booster. You don't think about that in a time of need, but in this situation, he became the most favorite guy in the world. They were able to wash, able to wash their clothes. They could wash dishes. They could also they provided drinking water for him and all the guys. So,
wow.
I don't remember exactly how many guys were at the station, but it's more than 4, up to maybe 8 or 10, maybe.
Yeah, that's what I was going to ask you. Tell us a little bit more about the circumstances, what it's like to be in that situation, because a lot of people envision it and try to say, what would I need if? What is it, besides this water? Tell us a little bit about being in that situation, what goes through people's minds, what was most important to them.
Well, the first thing you do is you panic. Your mind automatically goes to panic. We don't have water. So I got word that they were cutting off the water at about 1 in the morning, I think. I got a text message alerting me that the city water is going to be shut off. So I was able to fill everything, the bathtub and all sorts of stuff, but I can only imagine people that woke up the next morning turning on their faucets and there's nothing coming out. Now you're in a real panic. We don't have water. What do you do? Well, that's when hysteria set in the city a little bit, and you could see it in the lines. Because I worked one of the aid stations, and you could just tell there was panic running amok with the people here.
So when they were in the lines, they were waiting for hours, minutes, what? And then what were they given? A bottle of water, or how did that work? Tell me about that.
At the aid station where I was working, the line was, I can tell you, it was probably 1.5 miles, maybe 2 miles long.
Oh, my word.
Of cars waiting to get 2 cases of bottled water. That's all we could allow. And that lasted, we started at 5:30, and I think we had to cut off the line at 9 because we had run out of water to hand out. So, and that lasted for about 4 or 5 days. We did that once a day. We run out of water. We'd hand out all the water we had. Then we would run out, and we'd have to shut down the line, and then people would come back. And I know this happened throughout the city. I'm talking about, that's just water. That was just people waiting in line for water.
How long was the water out in the city?
Approximately 5 to 7 days is my recollection.
Oh, okay. You told me. Okay.
Now,
you told me that water before. Okay.
We actually had water coming through the lines, but there wasn't very much water pressure, and the water that we were getting was not usable at all. Don't even get in the water. Don't touch it. I'm not sure. I'm not sure on all the details of it. Yeah, but So this is flood water that's coming through our city water lines. So if you know anything about flood water, you don't want to be in that. So you don't want to be in that water ever.
So at what point? Let me ask you this then. Any kind of flood water, whatever, ladies and gentlemen, don't even think about even getting in it if you don't have to. If you don't have to even get in it, please don't get in it, much less drink it. What was you saw people for days in a row coming back for water. What was the look on their face day after day? Did it start to change? Did they get more panic? Was there more tension? What was going on psychologically there?
Once we had multiple aid stations set up in the city, like there were several churches in this area that had water being brought in, and I know for a fact we had water flown in and we had water trucked in. You could see the panic going away, but for those first couple of days, it was just panic. I don't know, the lack of water in people's minds freaks them out. You can probably go, it's probably not so bad if you think, well, we only have a couple of days of food left. We're going to, that doesn't scare you as much as we don't have water. And that fear went away after like the third day. You could tell it was much easier.
Where was the water coming from? Was it coming from FEMA or Texas or where?
No, all of our water was private donation. No, FEMA didn't provide any water that I'm aware of.
Really?
The Red Cross didn't provide any water that I'm. Yeah, as a matter of fact, the Red Cross.
Were you aware?
The Red Cross actually confiscated one of our shipments, which was very weird to me.
The Red Cross did?
Yeah.
By what authority? Did they have guns? What do you mean? Did they have guns? What do you mean? What do you mean they confiscated?
One of our planes landed from our private donations. They acquired it, and they disseminated it to an entirely different church. They just took it. I don't know under what authority. I don't think they have any authority. They're just a civilian population. They're just a civilian group of people.
So they just have a shirt with a Red Cross.
Yes.
So they just have a shirt with a Red Cross on their lapel, so everybody just gives them whatever they ask for. Did you see the interview? Not interview. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to talk over you. Did you see the interview? Did you see the interview? Not interview in Houston, where one of the city councilmen was eviscerating the Red Cross, saying if anybody wants to donate to the Red Cross, come talk to me. We see them all on TV, but I haven't seen one Red Cross person here in the streets at all. Was that kind of your experience with the Red Cross also?
Yes. I have no personal firsthand knowledge of any Red Cross doing anything here. Now that may be just because I wasn't needing anything from them, but I don't have any firsthand knowledge of any Red Cross doing anything here other than they took our shipment. I know that firsthand because I know that firsthand because the person at the airport.
So you
go ahead.
No, you tell me. Go ahead, because the person at the airport told you.
No, the person at the airport that was supposed to get our shipment called and was talking to the person on the phone that I was working with, and this took about 30 minutes to get it figured out where our water went, and they told them they took it, and it was a pretty hostile situation. So you have those sorts of things that go on when you have lack of water and you got supplies being brought in. It looks like something off of TV. You're like, this can't be America, but actually it's right here in your own hometown. So it can happen anywhere. So that panic and
we got about a minute or so.
Yeah, that's fine. That panic and that pandemonium kind of slipped in, and that's what takes over.
Now, from what you're telling me, if you wouldn't have had private donations, then you wouldn't have had water.
That's correct. We would have had to have gone around the city somewhere. There were multiple churches in the area providing water, and they were bringing it in from elsewhere as well. We didn't have water. There was no city water provided.
What was the government doing? Did you see the government, FEMA, doing anything here?
No.
God almighty.
You can't rely on your government to bring you water. You've got to be pretty self-sufficient in a situation like this.
All right, we'll be back, ladies and gentlemen, with Alan Galson on this. John, thank you so much for coming and sharing that. That's critical, crucial information. Thank you very much. Welcome back to the Power Hour, 24 minutes after the hour. I apologize to John. His cell phone, he would pause and stuff. And I ended up talking over him. But the information he was giving was just really important, I feel, because this is what happens in an emergency. And Alan, you and I were talking during the break. This was just Beaumont. This is a small town. And in the big scheme of things, although this was a huge disaster, this was a regional disaster. It wasn't even a statewide disaster, and it certainly wasn't a nationwide disaster. Why don't you go ahead and talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, like we were talking about in the break, John was specifically talking about what was happening down in Beaumont. Guys, Beaumont is not Houston. It's actually a separate community. So, I mean, all of us that are in water and doing this type of thing, we say this, but it's interesting when someone who's actually in it says, do not ever rely on a local government to provide your water. I mean, he laughed when he said that because he knows he was in it. His son-in-law is a firefighter. It's absolutely true. You have to rely on yourself. And that is, gosh, I think that's what makes this so different with this backpack is not only can you drink, you can apparently wash clothes, and I didn't know that until the other day, but they use that 8-foot shower, that hydro wash attachment. That's how they wash their clothes. And one thing that his son-in-law, he called me, his son-in-law told me they actually took showers with this too. Think about the big morale booster that you would have, that you could actually get the contaminants off of your skin, because these guys had to trudge through this flood water to rescue people. Think how big of a morale boost that is, that you can actually just shower. It's huge. So, again, it's real interesting that people that are down in this understand the importance of, you better be able to provide for yourself. And again, guys, this was Beaumont. This was not Houston. Think how bad it was in Houston. Think how bad it was in a larger area with millions of people. It's a lot worse when it comes to that type of population.
Well, one of the when you're talking about an emergency like this, and you talk about water and your need for water, everybody thinks, well, I need to drink about a gallon a day, so I need about a gallon a day. That's just what you need to drink. So put a gallon of water and look at it in front of you, and think about washing your hands. Think about washing your body. Think about washing anything else, rinsing something off, anything, washing clothes. Think of how much water you need. Really, it's more like 3 gallons a day minimum. And, I mean, bare minimum is about 2 gallons a day. I mean, bare.
That's right. What are you going to cook with? What are you going to give your pets? If you have any semblance of small livestock, what are you going to give those? I mean, per the EPA, the average, and it can be more or less depending on who you are, but they did a study, and the average household uses up to 400 gallons of water per day. Now, in an emergency, you would never use that much. I get it. I understand that. But I bet you're going to use 30 to 40 to 50. I bet you do. And again, you hit the nail on the head. How on earth are you going to bathe or shower or clean wounds or now we find out wash clothes? How are you going to do that with a little straw or something? Again, it's impossible. It's not going to happen that way. And until you're down in this situation and you're the one sitting in line for 1.5 to 2 miles in a car just to get a case of water, and again, guys, that was water just for their families for drinking. That's not enough to bathe or clean wounds or cook or anything like that. So you're waiting for hours on end just to get a case of water or so. Or in Houston, 2 bottles of water is all some people got.